Hi guys, welcome back to the latest video. Sorry for the recent hiatus. I was actually on vacation, but while on vacation I was thinking about y'all and I missed y'all and I missed making videos. So don't worry, I am back from my brief hiatus and we're back to making videos for 2 or 3 times a week. But that's not what this video is about. Today we are covering chapter 322 of My Hero Academia that just got leaked. So without further ado, let's hop right in the chapter. The chapter starts with Deku thinking that he has to break free from Ida's hand, but he has no power left. At that moment, Uraraka releases her quirk, so Deku and Ida were both free-falling. Ida was worried that they couldn't land safely, but Kirishima was there to catch them, thankfully. At that moment, Kirishima told Deku back in the day, when they were still middle schoolers, he heard there was a guy who ran off to save his friend, and what Kirishima is referencing here is in the first season of My Hero Academia, or the first few chapters, during the Sludge Villain incident, and he asked Deku if it was him, and Kirishima told him that the Deku at that time is their answer. Ida asked how his timing could be so nice, and Kirishima told him it was Endeavor's order. To me, what he kind of means when he says this is their answer, I think Kirishima's kind of answering Deku's question of why they would save him, and that is their answer. They believe in this young man still within Deku, who, despite being quirkless at the time, ran in against a villain to save his friend, despite any of the odds against him. We then see the rest of the class approach them, and Mina tells Deku to come back with him. Deku said he wanted to, but he is scared and he doesn't want to cause trouble for other people. He continued saying that he can't go back to how things used to be. At that time, Bakugo asked him if he remembered what he said after he got impaled by Shigaraki. Deku told him no, and Bakugo reminded him. It was, don't try to win this on your own. He said that there's still more, because when his body moved on its own and he got impaled, he thought to himself that he must tell Deku something. Deku had always been someone who he looked down upon, because Deku was quirkless. But although Deku should be far behind him, Bakugo felt that somehow he was far ahead of him. And he didn't like that. He didn't want to see it, and he didn't want to admit it. That's why he wanted to keep Deku at arm's length, so he bullied him. Bakugo wanted to deny Deku, so he tried to be in a superior spot, but he admitted that he lost. After they entered UA, nothing went according to how Bakugo planned. Every day was filled with realizing Deku's strengths and understanding his own weaknesses. Bakugo said even though he said all of this, he knows that it won't do any justice, but this is his real feelings. He then said, Izuku, I'm sorry for everything up until now. And right now is one of the best moments of Bakugo in my opinion. You see the complete sincerity within Bakugo, and despite his actions of bullying Deku in the past, which obviously no one is okay with, he's owning up to them, and he's acknowledging that he was wrong. Remember guys, these individuals are just high schoolers, they're imperfect people. Bakugo, just like the rest of us, is insecure, and of course people deal with that differently. In his case, it was to lash out to Deku and try to put Deku behind him, so Bakugo could feel superior to Deku and quell this insecurity within him. And I'm really glad that he apologized. This is amazing, this chapter. Bakugo continued by saying that the path Deku and All Might took was not wrong, but right now Deku is unsteady, and there are things that even ideals cannot surpass. So for the things Deku couldn't handle, he wants Deku to let them handle. In order to surpass All Might, the ideal hero, the greatest hero, he will save Deku, the refugees in UA, and the civilians. And see, Bakugo is still trying to be number one and actively pushing towards that. He's not taking a backseat per se. He's telling Deku that what he can't handle, the rest of them will. We know Bakugo is actively pushing for number one, and that is not changing. A narration starts. Deku is saying that all of his classmates were already leagues ahead of him. Then he starts regretting what he said in the last chapter about how they can't keep up with him. He says he's sorry, and suddenly his body gives in, but Bakugo catches him before he hits the ground, saying, "We know you are." They all look tired and relieved, and Momo says they resolved the first problem, but the next one may be even harder. Deku opens his eyes and the students hurry to warn number 13, who's not wearing her helmet. She tells him that almost all of the Pacific civilians have been allocated under some evacuation area, and the ones outside are mostly groups of anti-hero protesters or extremists that have gone wild alongside the jailbreakers. More and more protesters are giving up, and the extremists are easier to catch, so the situation is getting better. She says Deku's solo journey really helped the heroes and the police. We then see the UA barrier is now active and it looks like a giant iron fortress. Sero comments that this is just a taste of what it can actually do. When the system is activated, it even connects to Shiketsu High. Deku is still worried about going back to UA, and he's not the only one. Citizens are gathered saying that he's the one Shigaraki is going after and that everyone is talking about it. President Mike tries to calm them down, but it's useless. They continue saying that the principal guaranteed they'd be safe, and that's why they left their homes. Deku starts to walk away, but Ochako holds his hand and stops him. She says everything will be alright, and her narration begins. She says that Bakugo, Ida, and everyone made this possible, and now they won't let him go once again. They won't let go of his hand. The chapter ends with Ochako questioning who will save heroes when they're in pain, and she turns around. Guys, I have visible chills on my arms from the end of this chapter. This chapter is everything I was looking forward to. The last chapter and the last two of them, they were good, obviously, but they didn't meet my expectations. But in this chapter, we've surpassed a lot. We have overcome Bakugo and his insecurity, and he's apologized to Deku. He's not only apologizing to Deku, but he's apologizing to an extent to the fans of My Hero Academia, who, of course, he's such a polarizing character. People kind of at times either love Bakugo or dislike him. And hopefully Bakugo has now won over those who dislike him, because Bakugo is a phenomenal character. And within this, we see Bakugo is a human at the end of the day. He's a teenage human, and he makes mistakes. He's insecure. He wants to be the best, and whenever he sees his ambitions to be the best thrown to the wayside and being surpassed by another individual, of course he lashes out, but he owns up to that and acknowledges his mistake. Most importantly, Deku this chapter is coming home, and he is back at UA. Clearly we see UA is extremely fortified, which is going along with the theory that there will be an all-out frontal assault right on UA, which will be amazing to see all of the heroes in action along with the students. And the reference of Shiketsu High, that made me excited as well, because I love so many of the characters from Shiketsu High, and I don't believe a lot of them got enough attention, particularly Inasa Yorarashi. I thought he was super cool, and I want to see him fight more, which is great. We already saw a little bit of the Shiketsu High students a few chapters back with the muscular chapter. But, guys, here we are again. They're coming back full reference and full circle from Horikoshi. And lastly, within this chapter, this really did warm my heart by seeing Ochako hold Deku's hand and stopping Deku from walking away. And just reaffirming to Deku that everything's going to be okay. And I can't wait for more of her dialogue and her narration to continue within the next chapter, because it does seem like she kind of is admitting her feelings to Deku to an extent. And I am so glad that she reaffirmed to Deku that they aren't going to let go and that everything is going to be okay. Guys, this was a phenomenal chapter, and I'm so glad I came back yesterday night in time to cover this brilliant chapter. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, as always, you know I love the feedback on the recent videos, and I love all of your comments, so please leave more of them. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe as well. I'm really trying to push for 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I know that I'm roughly 700 or 600 off, but I believe it's doable. So guys, as always, have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you all next time.